Hey, before we start the show, I need you to hit that subscribe button for me. Producer Head only exists because of listeners like you who take that one simple action. It costs nothing and means everything as we continue to build this community and bring in more and more top tier producers to spread knowledge. The bigger this community grows, the more we all level up together. Thank you for supporting this project, me and Producer Head. All right, let's get into it. Yo, what's up? This is Toru, music producer, entrepreneur, and host of this show, Producer Head. Welcome to part 2 of my conversation with Mark the Clive-Lowe, pioneering jazz pianist, producer, and performer. Mark the Clive-Lowe has spent decades masterfully fusing acoustic jazz instrumentation with electronic production and live sampling. In the second part of our conversation, Mark shares insights on creative workflow, time management, overcoming challenges, and the philosophy that guides his approach to music. From protecting creative time to accepting imperfection, he offers wisdom gained from a career spanning multiple continents and musical scenes. All right, with that, please enjoy part 2 of my conversation with Mark the Clive-Lowe. But to your point, right, it's like that's sort of the thing. It's like you don't need to have 10,000 hours to then begin making something worthwhile or good, right? Like to your point about your friend, the carpenter, like your friend who does the carpentry stuff. It's like every time you're doing this in some way, you're accumulating those. That said, it's also maybe missing the point, I would argue, to focus on the quantity and not like the quality of those hours,
I
right?
agree
Because
with you
like
100%. Yeah.
so yeah, like the way, and so I think, with the level of experience that you have, man, I mean, I think it'd be cool. Like, what are like frameworks or good ideas about how to be intentional with your practice time or with your production time or whatever it is that you've picked up or learned over the years?
The most productive I was in my life was before we had Wi-Fi everywhere. Like I remember when I first got to London in the studio, they had dial-up Wi-Fi, the dial-up internet. And it was on the same phone as the studio phone. So if you wanted to go online, you had to dominate the phone line. And then because it's a studio phone, you can't just sit on it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't just jump on it when you're in a studio session. So that there were no distractions, is what I'm saying.
Mm.
And I think it's, we live in a world right now where, big tech designs distraction to maximize how much it can kind of dominate our time and our attention. And I think that's one thing for sure, is protecting your time and space, which you want to apply to your craft.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that goes so far as also if you're like if I live with a partner in the past, and I'd be like, this is my practice time, that's important, or this is my work time. I'm at home, but I'm working. These days, I'm a sucker for scrolling as much as the next person. So I literally have an app that blocks me from all socials and news for half the day every day. Just because I need to, I'm like, I can't, like muscle memory now these days. It's like, we can just pick up our phone and open an app without even knowing where it is because it's muscle memory. So things like that help. But also just, inspiring ourselves. Like I love starting the day listening to some music that just gives me all the feels and gives me ideas. And it's like, oh my God, that's just so beautiful. That's so dope. I want to make something. It's giving ourselves, kind of, what's that? It's almost pre-gaming. Like, yeah, I think it's the little things. And then also being around people who create. Like I'm fortunate to be around a lot of people who in different fields are very creative. And it's like if someone's just finished a 6-episode documentary series, it's like, oh my God, that's amazing. And I've seen the process of you doing that. Like you see each other's process, and the analogs, it's the same. I mean, it's it's like the person who writes a novel. They're getting up every day and they're writing maybe 1,000 words, and it's a process. So having people around you who do that, and I love to hang out and have fun. I'm not saying become a monk about it, but if you want to become a monk about it, that can work too. It's whatever works for you, I think. But being protective and intentional about time is the biggest thing, and being playful in that time. Like I've definitely felt the weight of like, oh man, I'm making a whole new album, and I might be at the 0 point. So it's like, oh my god, I've got to make a whole new album, and that can just be overwhelmingly daunting. And so it's breaking things down into little chunks, and I mean, making music starts with things that are fun, creating little ideas and just being playful. I think that's to be able to be in a career where I think the bottom line is be playful. I mean, that's a blessing in itself.
How do you talk to yourself after a day you had in the studio and it didn't go the way that you had
Oh
hoped it would
man,
go?
those happen. I mean, or how about a day which I didn't even get into the studio?
Mm,
Like I can be very hard on myself. Historically, I am someone who's hard on themselves. And there's always tomorrow is one thing. But then I'll think about like, oh my God, we only have so many weeks to live. Like, this every day's got value.
mm,
Um, but yeah, when if I'm playing with music and it just doesn't, it's not working. Honestly, I haven't had that feeling for a very long time. I like the Buddhist philosophy of accepting a moment, of acceptance.
mm,
Whatever is. And this really became clear to me when I've been playing live in an improvised setting with other musicians. And when someone plays something, that's what they've played. I can't do
mhm,
anything about it. All I can do is accept it and accept it for all the everything it is. And sometimes it might be, or even my own playing, like something comes out of my hands, and I'm like, I can't judge it. I just have to accept it. And that was a shift, a huge shift. And so in studio now, yeah, it's moments of what they are, and not every moment is for a record, and there's probably plenty of moments that probably should be records that just get don't even get captured or just get they're on a random
yeah.
hard drive somewhere. Um, but yeah, I think just keeping consistent is important, and again, it's like basketball. Steph Curry's in a three shooting slump. The only way to get out of that is to keep shooting threes. So you
Mhm,
just got to keep doing it. And I remember I had what I guess writer's block. The last time I had severe writer's block was this is going to sound crazy. It was early 2009, and I remember I was in LA, and everything I made just sounded like a pastiche of everything else I'd made, and it just nothing sounded fresh, and it was so frustrating. And I just got hard on myself. I was like, cool, sit down and create. You're not getting up until you make something you like. And so I would just create, and the idea would be shit. So I throw it out, start again, create, shit, start again. And eventually something came out which was really, really dope. I mean, it led to a whole album that I produced for an artist who at that point I didn't even know. So it was a really interesting moment, and a lesson in perseverance and not being too hard on yourself, and also knowing that the well the well is infinite. The well's
mm,
infinite. Like, at this point I think I put out like 20 albums. And if you told me when I was 19 you're going to put out 20 albums and still have plenty more to say, I wouldn't even have been able to comprehend that. But the,
mhm.
the well is infinite. Absolutely.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think, and I don't know, that's a really encouraging message to hear, I think, in terms of just patience, and
Mm-hmm.
trusting and just continuing to go forward no matter what kind of day you're
Mm-hmm.
having.
We all have shit days. I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, man, have you read the Herbie's autobiography
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
memoir? So,
Mm-hmm.
for anyone who hasn't, I like that. It's been on my mind to reread it recently, but it kind of like it jumped into my head because obviously we listened to Herbie earlier, and then one of the photos I think is actually like maybe the same photo that's like on the spine of the book or on the cover of the book, but
All right. Uh-huh.
he opens he opens that book with what you were talking about, like kind of accepting notes as play the live playing, and it just made me go there, which is like he opens that book talking about making a mistake on stage playing with Miles.
Yeah.
And he's freaking out. He played the wrong. He's messing up the tune live with Miles Davis, right? And Miles Davis changes what he's playing so that what Herbie's now playing is now quote unquote correct. And so I mean that is. I mean, to your point, I mean that that's a really cool like distilled moment of like mastery, right? Like nobody's mad and nobody's like, we're not stopping the tune and like looking at you, right? Like this happened, we're gonna keep going. And I'm so into like he was so in tune with what was going on, he could just go with the moment and create.
Yeah, man.
And that's
I suspect, Herbie tells that story a lot. And I suspect that to be a little more real about it is that maybe Herbie played a chord that wasn't quite what he intended. Miles heard it as an interesting choice. And then Miles was like, let me play with that choice. Like Miles wasn't like, you fucked up, let me fix your fuck up. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
No way. Yeah. And so that comes down to the subjectivity and objectivity, right? It's like, there are things. I definitely have recordings of stuff where, like a live recording for a release, and I might just edit out, a whole chunk of it and just take it off the record. And then someone else will hear the raw version. They'll be like, man, why'd you take that out? It sounds amazing. It's like, well, I didn't think it sounded good. I mean, it's a very subjective process.
Yeah. And I love the way that you just spin that, man. That was so cool. I mean, in terms of like just being like, oh, like this guy's in the band. I love the way that he plays. He's challenging me to do something different.
Yeah.
And that's such a cool way to spin it, and just like a really more like just like a really optimistic and creative and expansive way to take that in. I love it, man. That's really cool. Last thing I want to ask you before we jump into some of these quicker hits is the topic of non-musical skills, right? I mean, as you know, like pursuing a career as an independent artist, like, to some of the stuff we've been talking about right now, there's like vast access in a lot of different ways that can potentially be really powerful tools as an independent artist. That said, like those skills are very different from, putting in your 10,000 hours on your instrument or in your DAW or whatever. So I guess, with all of the experience that you have behind you now, what are some of those like words of wisdom that you have for people that are like, all right, what can I work on to make myself, to improve my probability of success and to make me more well-rounded as an independent artist?
I wish I knew. I wish I knew. I think, not to sound super woo-woo, but I think your humanity is at the top of the list. I think, how we treat people has repercussions for real. And I haven't heard it in a long time, but I remember growing up a lot hearing, be careful how you treat people on the way up because you're going to meet them on the way down. And that could be even like, say I don't know, if I meet a really young musician, super young musician, and if I'm dismissive of them, and then 10 years later they're just killing it, and it's like, yeah, I would have called Mark for this, but he was a dick to me. Just, be a good person. I think that's huge. When it comes to all the things that we have to do as independent creatives in this day and age, I find it frustrating. It's like, yeah, I would like to just make music and not have days dominated by admin and organizing posts for a new release or whatever it might be, all that stuff. But I guess with that kind of thing, it's a necessary part of the system now. And so I think for someone like me, structuring my time in advance goes a long way. If I don't put something on the schedule, it doesn't happen, basically. And if I don't have a schedule, then I'll waste a day. So for me, I need to schedule stuff and be very intentional about that. But yeah, I think in general, just being savvy and aware. Yeah, I think it's really important. A lot of people want management or an agent. I think it's very important to know what a manager should do and an agent should do, so you can hold them accountable. Ultimately, as an artist, those people work for you. You do not work for them, no matter what they make you feel or think. And that's so important. You got to, and by self-managing yourself, when you come to get a manager, you'll know some of that work. You'll know what it takes, and you'll know what makes good and bad decisions, and that's all important stuff. So yeah, there's a lot to do, but I think just being diligent, you learn that stuff along the way.
Got you. So just accept that it's part of it and don't fall asleep at the wheel.
Basically, and be a good person at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the interns of today are, the executives of tomorrow. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very real thing.
yeah.
And I didn't imagine that when I was younger. And
Hmm.
I've been around the block enough times to now see that generation come up and be running venues, be bookers, be promoters, be record label execs, be all sorts of things. And yeah, it's also cool actually in a day and age where I think ageism is still a very real thing. It's really nice for me to be able to get a little older and be able to be seen as someone who has value to contribute, whether it's through a conversation like this or through music, or so I think there's a lot to be said for the intergenerational exchange of not just actual musical collaboration, that's great too, but just ideas and experiences in the culture.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, have you found a substitute for experience?
No. No, there's no magic pill. I mean,
Yeah.
I think when I was a teenager, I thought there might be. Like, one day I'll find the magic pill.
Yeah.
But the magic pill is life. So
Yeah.
yeah.
One day at a time. Cool, man. I mean, so I want to drop into these like kind of shorter form questions for you real quick.
Yeah.
Before we do that, is there anything, in terms of upcoming projects or anything in general that you want to mention or point people to and let us know where's the best place that you like to send people in terms of following what's going on with you online?
For sure. I'm super excited about the next record and next album coming up. It's called Past Present Tone Poems Across Time. It's like a ambient synth jazz record that I'm not sure when the pod will drop, but it's coming out. The album's coming out in April, and it's a super personal project, kind of built around the narrative of my dad's time in Japan and falling in love with my father for the first time, maybe 12 years after he died. It's super personal, but really different music. So there's that. And yeah, online, I'm pretty much everywhere. IG is probably the best place, but stick my name in, Mark the Clive-Lowe. I'm right there. Yeah, always happy to hear from people. And yeah, just that's one thing I adore the internet for, is how it's given us this unlimited connectivity between each other. It's very cool.
Hey, real quick, if you're enjoying this episode, I've got a small favor to ask. Producer Head grows thanks to listeners and supporters like you. So if something here resonates, take a second to follow, like, or subscribe. Your support means everything. By subscribing and sharing, you help us grow the Producer Head community, which allows us to continue bringing you incredible conversations like this and opens the door to even more exciting guests in the future. Let's keep building this together. All right, now back to the episode. Absolutely, man. Yeah, and by the time if you're listening to this episode, the new record is out. So go listen to it. We will link it in the show notes for you. Make sure
Hey,
you do
thank you.
that.
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
and absolutely, man. And then at Mark the Clive-Lowe on Instagram. Again, we will also link that in the show notes. So if you're listening, you have no excuse not to follow what this man is doing. Which DAW do you use?
I grew up on Logic, but I am 100% an Ableton guy.
3 favorite albums.
Man, pick your favorite children. So today, the Goldie's album Timeless. It's a jungle classic from the UK. D'Angelo's Voodoo, absolutely life-changing. And Cesar Mariano is an amazing Brazilian composer, piano player, has a record called São Paulo, Brazil. For people who like Herbie Hancock, like especially 70s Headhunters era Herbie, Cesar's that record sounds like Herbie raised in Afro Brasilia. It's like incredible.
Wow, cool. Man, so I mean, Pino. Like, I mean, have you talked to him about voodoo?
Oh yeah.
So I mean, what do you say to him?
I mean, we're friends at this point. So, but when I first met him, I just seen Voodoo live in London,
Oh
and
man.
it's still to this day the best concert I've ever seen in my life, and I've seen a lot of music. And then I get summoned to a jam session that a friend of mine put together. He brought together everyone he knew who didn't know each other. And I remember I was so sick that day, so I was in bed, and my friend calls me up. He's like, man, you got Pino Palladino waiting for you. Like, oh man, I'll be right there. So, like cold sweats, back aching and
Yeah.
everything, and went to the studio. And we just got along so well straight off the bat. And having just been to the show, I was just like, oh my God, Voodoo, amazing.
Yeah.
Rah, rah. Um, but then we just developed this really great friendship and musical rapport. And he'd come around to the crib and have his bass with him. I'm like, I guess we're doing some music today. But yeah, Voodoo was very special for him, and to be brought into a world that he wasn't part of up to that point was amazing for
Mm-hmm.
him. And he's a time master. So to be brought
Mm.
into a world or a project where the time feel concept was so avant-garde, which it
Mm-hmm.
was at the time, and for him to be able to contribute to that in a way where he's just being himself, like
Mm-hmm.
I know that's just for him been such an amazing experience. And then he stops playing in the band to go on tour with the Who and and the son takes over. Like, it's wild.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Man, when I was 15, I saw him on that Who tour with my dad.
Right.
Right after, yeah, John Enslisser died. We had
Yeah.
tickets and I saw him. Yeah. Crazy, man.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
man.
then so for that, this is the same guy I saw when I was a kid on this Voodoo record. I was going crazy. I mean,
Yeah, man. And you can
yeah,
go
it's
back
obviously.
like 20 years earlier and, Tears for Fears records, and he's
Mm.
a lifetime legend.
Yeah, he really is, man. And his son is really killing it right now, man, with all the Yusuf Day stuff that's going on
Rocco's
too.
fantastic. Love
Yeah.
what Rocco does.
I
Yeah.
saw him live down. They actually came to Mexico City in January of last year.
Yeah.
And I saw them down here, man. It was incredible.
So while we mentioned Yusuf Days, you got to check out, if you haven't seen it already, the short film of him in Japan.
So
they're performing
man,
in front of Mount Fuji and then go around Japan, just having different experiences. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to make my trip, so it's like on my list of like things to watch to get me fired up, man. I'm excited.
Excellent.
Yeah. Best music related purchase you've ever made for $100 or less?
This is a tough one because you can't get much for $100 these days.
That's why I say music related,
Right, okay, yeah. I mean, I'm an Ableton guy, like I said, and when I perform live, I want to be off the laptop as much as possible. So I use an iPad app called Touchable to run Ableton, basically, and that was definitely under $100, but it's great.
Something you bought and never used?
I one time I saw this little fuzz pedal online, and I was like, oh, that would sound so cool. The roads going through that, and yeah, I got it. Never used it. I don't know.
Do you still have it?
No, I definitely, when I was leaving LA and clearing out all my stuff, that definitely went in a big box of random stuff to the local music secondhand shop.
One habit that gets in the way of your music?
The business of music, just having to administrate and promote and all that stuff. Yeah.
Something you wish more people understood about music and or production?
I think a big thing for me, which has probably been obvious through the whole conversation, is that I believe in music as being something so much more important and of more consequence than success, whether that's kind of pop chart success or having a viral whatever. It's like music is just, it's so much more than that. So to not focus on that.
Someone else you'd like to hear from on Producer Head?
I'm gonna go with my friend DJ Spinner, amazing producer and DJ from Brooklyn, New York, legend. Yeah, I'd love to hear him chat.
Favorite movie?
Tough one. There's many. Inception would be my go-to. I think it's a lot of people's favorite movie, but there's just something. I mean, the dream within the dream within the dream. It's like when The Matrix first dropped, when it first came out, and there'd never been a movie like that. That was a paradigm shift. I feel like Inception was like the next one like that.
Yeah, I feel that. There's that. Are there any lines that you remember from Inception? Anything that sticks out?
No,
specifically?
No. Oh, okay. That's like me with lyrics.
Yeah,
I can't remember them.
Yeah, there's that. I forget what it is, but it's one of those things that I feel like has kind of become popular for people to quote. I'm gonna butcher it. It's not exactly right, but it's something about like the guy asked the question like, "What's the most powerful like parasite or like something like that?" And the answer is thought. Is a thought.
Yeah. Wow, it's so true, isn't it? And that's why people meditate. Just like,
Mm.
quieten our thoughts and get back to the foundation.
Do you
Yeah.
keep a meditation practice?
Not regularly enough.
Mm.
I think like my kind of performance flow is its own meditation for sure. But I do now and then, like to tap into that for sure. I would like to make it regular, but I haven't. Yeah, I slipped, fallen off.
Advice that you've received and found useful.
It was actually Pino. We were in these studio sessions when we first got to know each other, and he was just like, "Man, whatever we play, you always sound like yourself. Just remember to always be yourself." And that's
Mm.
it's almost obvious, but you can't be someone else. Like I can't be Herbie Hancock, and the beat maker can't be Dilla. All you can do is be yourself. Yeah.
No, I love it. I mean, Omar, nothing new. Back episode 9-ish, something like that. I love the analogy that he kind of made for this, which was, you're born and you have a lane,
Mm.
and a
Mm.
lot of us, you already have one.
Yeah.
And a lot of us like willingly and intentionally vacate that lane,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that there is no other vacancy available. Like you have
Mm.
the one, you already
Mm.
have it, and you spend all of your time.
Mm.
So I just think that's a really powerful way to think about that idea.
No, I love that,
So
man, and
shout out to
so
Omar.
many. It's so easy. I think too with the way the internet is too. It's so easy to someone posts their recent success or accolade or whatever. It's so easy to be like, man, what about that should be me. Like, it's almost designed to make people think that. So yeah, it's so
Mm-hmm.
important just to really remember that what's meant for me will be.
What character from a book, movie, or show do you most identify with?
So this is a historic character who has been there's a lot of movies and stuff with him in it, but a Japanese samurai named Miyamoto Musashi. He was most famous for he had this technique called nitenichi, where he would use two swords. It means two swords as one, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And samurai at that time would fight with one sword. And here comes this guy who just was fully ambidextrous, two swords, never lost a fight. Like he killed all these people. Then he retires and becomes like an artisan, like making poetry and making paintings and stuff. And I love the analogy where for me with music, like I love this idea of keys and drum machines and analog and digital and the human thing and the machine thing and just this kind of thing of juggling multiple weapons and making them one.
The first person to bring the gun to a knife fight, I guess. So what isn't there? I'm like, this isn't exactly the name, but I feel like there's a book that's either by him or about him, like The Legend of the 12 Rings
The Book of
or
Five
something like
Rings,
Book of Five
or the Book of
Rings.
Six Rings. Yes, it's
So,
it's the book of a number of rings. Yes, it might be 12 rings. Anyway, yes.
very cool. One thing I do want to ask you just randomly, just because mastery has literally come up in such a literal way so much. Have you read Robert Greene's Mastery?
But I think so. It's either on my to read list or I've read it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
can't
man. I mean,
remember.
for you, I couldn't. I mean, if you haven't, or I mean, I couldn't recommend enough to even just flip through some of it, man. I mean,
Yeah.
just like given your kind of passion for the topic, and your personal dedication to it, it's a super cool.
Yeah, man. I'll jump in,
distillation.
and even if it's familiar when I read it, I've read it before. I'll read it again.
Yeah, there you go. All right, man. So the last couple of things here, I want to ask: can you leave a question for the next guest, not knowing who they will be?
Yeah, man. I would like to ask that if streaming numbers and sales and likes and all that stuff didn't matter, they didn't matter at all, what kind of music would you be making?
I love it. I love it. And the question that was left for you was a little bit more lighthearted, I would say. And it just asked just asked that you share your funniest studio/live show story.
Oh man. um I mean I used to use an MPC 3000 on my live shows, and I remember going to South Africa to Cape Town to play the Cape Town Jazz Festival. South Africa's a long way to go no matter where in the world you live. So we go all the way to Cape Town to play this 40-minute set. And I had a band with me, but the MPC was very much the heart of everything. And like I'd live program the beats on every gig and stuff. And so at a festival, typically there's no sound check. You're like doing a speed setup, a line check. You probably leave the stage to come back on and play. And so that's what we did. The previous band finished, they packed down, we set up fast, had everything plugged up, did a line check. And then I'm walking off the stage to come back on. And one of the stagehands is like, man, your MPC's smoking. And I turn around and it's all this fucking black smoke coming out of the MP.
Wow.
So I don't know if there'd been a power surge or someone plugged in the wrong transformer or what happened. But yeah, we went back on stage and I just had to yell. I had a drummer in the band. I was like, "You're it." You know, usually he's playing second to the MP. I'm like, "Nah, you're it, bro. Let's go." And you know, I couldn't. I would like loop bass lines as well. I couldn't do that in the MP. Couldn't do any of that.
Yeah.
And so, looking at the time, I was angry. I was frustrated, and then people after the show are like, "Oh man, that was great." I'm thinking, this is not what I came all the way to South Africa to do.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, I have to laugh.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, a few MPs blew up on my watch around the world.
Oh man, that's brutal. But I mean, you know, for us, thank you. I mean, it is a very great story for us to hear today. Man, wow. Did you get it? Was it beyond repair? It was just like that was toast.
That one, because I think by that point I'd stopped taking my own, so they were backlined. So it was someone else's MP that blew up. But I did actually, my own one almost died. In Australia at a party. That was a solo gig, like a dance floor gig, hot ass warehouse, and I was sweating. And the MPC's got these little vents, and I sweated. My sweat fell straight into the vent.
Oh no!
Short circuits the whole thing. Party's over. Done. MP dead. Yeah.
Oh man, that's
so
brutal.
That's something I do like Machine for now. It's just like, you know, if it won't die, and if it does, someone else will have another one. It's all good.
Yeah, it's more plug and play that way, right? Oh man,
yeah,
man. That's all I have, Mark. I can't thank you enough, man, for making the time to do this with me and just for sharing like the passion, the dedication, and trying to impart that to myself and everybody listening. Thank you so much, man.
Man, thank you for having me. It's been a really fun conversation, and you know, I really like how you're approaching this and kind of digest the conversation and take it to different places. So it's a lot of fun. Thank you.
My compliment is not lost on me, but thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And yeah, man, with that, this has been Toru, and in a way, so are you. That'll do it for this episode of Producer Head. Please come back for the next one. Peace. That's it for my conversation with Mark de Clive-Lowe. If you haven't already, I definitely recommend going back to listen to part 1, where Mark shares his insights on developing musical taste and finding your unique voice. Be sure to check out Mark's latest album, Past Present Tone Poems Across Time, which just dropped in April. It's an ambient synth jazz album that explores his father's time in Japan and Mark's personal connection to his roots. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave a rating and review wherever you're listening. This helps Producer Head find its place and its people. Without you, there is no Producer Head. Thanks again for tuning into Producer Head. Subscribe and join our community over at producerhead.substack.com so you never miss an episode. Substack subscribers receive exclusive access to the bi-weekly podium, a curation of my favorite discoveries on and offline over the past week. You'll also get access to Producer Head Bars, where I share the best of what's been shared with me to help you and other producers in our community grow. The podium and Producer Head Bars are designed to provide immediate inspiration and direct application in your creative process. So, subscribe at producerhead.substack.com to receive real inspiration and ideas you can use to elevate your own process today. If you care for the craft, get your exclusive access at producerhead.substack.com. This episode was co-produced, engineered, and edited by Matthew Diaz. Big thank you to him. From Producer Head, this is Toru, and in a way, so are you. Peace.